So we did a 5-day mission in Helmand province, and I didn't sleep for 5 days. Like, we were in a defensive position. We ran out of food, water, and ammo every day. And when I came off that, I'm like, you know what? If I die, I want to at least tell my kids, I want you to be able to do something for 24 hours without stopping, because it makes you a different human being.
Welcome to the Veteran-Led Podcast, where we talk with leaders who use their military experiences to develop great organizations and continue to serve their communities. Today we have Navy SEAL, author, and business consultant Thom Shea. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, brother, for having me. Appreciate you.
It's an honor. And years ago, I read your book. I was doing something called the 50-mile march, where we don't quite walk for 24 hours, but it's 50 miles. And at the breaking point at mile 30 at about 3 a.m, someone quoted Thom Shea. So that's how I heard about you again. And then we have a mutual friend that is a publicist that said, you got to talk to Thom Shea. I'm like, well, I've heard that name several times. Oh yeah, I know who this guy is. And so I finally got to put one and one together, and it's an honor to have you here. I really want to start off with Unbreakable. Love the book. What I really like about it is the internal dialogue. The internal dialogue is so important, because we get slapped in the face, we get knocked down, but we get back up. And hearing your story, right? And I didn't read this till the end of the book, but hey, you went through BUD/S, or it took you 4 attempts? Is that right?
Well, did you have to hit me right in the shorts in the beginning?
Well, the problem is, like, people see you, the God come. This guy's amazing. You read the book, Silver Star recipient.
Don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
No, I was in 5 classes, so I got injured in 4. I got turned out of training. Supposed to be for 2 years, but I petitioned to come back every day, and got back in 9 months. So I was in 5 hell weeks, which is a horrible thing. Terrible.
And that's one of the most heroic things about you, because I got injured my first time through Ranger School, and then failed my patrols that same time. I mean, I was injured. I was trying to hide the injury. And as you know, when your body isn't working, the mind isn't working, and I'm already sleep deprived. And it was a nightmare. And just coming back that second time, knowing what I was going to go through again, you're thinking, oh man, not again. But I went back in the summer, and it was actually a little bit easier. But for you, going back to Hell Week again and again, I mean, it takes guts, and it takes resilience to do that. And I think a lot of people in life, they fail once and they say, I can't do this. And they quit. What is the makeup? How is it that you just set your mind to this and, hey, I'm going to keep coming until they don't let me come back? How do you build that resilience, that toughness?
If you think about it, now that we're older, and kids don't think like this, but, thank God older, wiser people do. What makes you ask the question, even though you specifically asked it of me? Well, what makes a good mindset? Only mindset that matters that you can learn. Like, I don't have the ability to do nonlinear equations in my brain. I don't have the ability to do a lot of things academically that other people do. So in the competitive space, not all humans are the same. So, but what all humans can do is start over. It doesn't matter how far you've hit the rock bottom. I learned it the hard way. So I have some linearity to what I went to West Point for 3 years, and I failed out in English. So, man, here's my first, I felt like it was a hard bottom, a soft bottom. What do? Do you become a victim and blame everybody, or start over? And I wanted to be a warrior. So what does an academic failure do? Oh shit, they sign up for the SEAL teams. It just made sense in my brain. And so start over is the greatest mindset you can have as a human being, because everybody can start over. It doesn't matter anywhere. Start over in business, marriage, start over. And I just got exceptionally good at it, which I think is the true nature of a warrior is, man, the next moment counts, start over. The next moment counts, out of rounds, who cares? You got one more round, make it the best one. And that became the mantra. It's probably the mantra of the SEAL teams is and you've heard this before, the only easy day was yesterday because it's over. You got to do today. And that then became like what I call internal dialogue is I'm not going to listen to my jargon in my head anymore because it's never helpful. You know what I mean? Even in Ranger School, having gone through as a cadet in the summer, it's miserable and you don't want to be there. Like, it's not this glory thing that, oh my God, the movies make it so cool. And I feel like I'm becoming a man. I felt like I was unraveling, if you remember those times. Like, nothing's working. Like, my feet don't work and I got prickly heat everywhere. And if you believe that, you will go the way of the dodo bird. Like, you will become extinct, but you can take another step, you know?
Well, and I have to imagine that this played a huge role in making you a great NCO that you're, I would say soldiers, but I guess your SEALs wanted to follow, because it's, you know, it's easy to tell someone, don't quit, you know, it's going to be fine. We're going to get there. It's going to work out. But when you've personally been to hell and back 5 times and can say, you know what, I've been there. Let me tell you something, you're going to be fine. And that's so much reassuring than the leader who, we don't know what adversity that leader's faced. And they keep telling us, oh yeah, it'll be good. But we're like, well, what challenges have you faced? Like, we want that authenticity. I want to know that the leader that I'm following has been there, has done that, and understands what I'm going through. And certainly I became clear from your book and your leadership that you understood what your men were going through, and you did what you could to make sure that they were comfortable, whether it was giving them a little bit of Copenhagen, a joke, but it was helping push the team through the suffering and letting them know, like, hey, we're getting through this. Just like you did in your adventure days, racing days. It's just getting through it and helping other people do that. So what is the most effective technique that you have used to help people push through, whether it was when you were a SEAL, adventure racing, or in your consultancy, where people feel like they're stuck, they're blocked, they can't go any further? How do you push them further?
Boy, it may not be mainstream. So it solely comes from the SEAL teams. And from Draper Kaufman, the guy who wrote Hell Week, to active SEALs today, there's a point of leadership that I've only seen in the SEAL teams. And you get great leaders through shared hardship. And so the next step after shared hardship, and you've earned the right to be here, is the only way to lead somebody is you go with them. And every mission, you have to go with the guys. And that is a big comforting thing to everybody in the platoon, is I ain't going to go do this by myself, but if my buddies are going, I'll do it and I'll try harder. And as a leader, I don't say I led from the front, because it may not be important for me to be in the front. But hey, bro, I'm here. If you're under fire, I'm coming to get you first. I don't care about the enemy. So you have to be 100% involved in every second of an endeavor to be a great leader. You can't be an abstract leader. I don't think, this is my opinion, generals and admirals are not, they're administrators. If you ain't there in the field, you don't get a say. And in the SEAL teams, if you're not in the field, you don't get a say in what happened. Like, you can't even question what happened. And that makes a big difference to the guys. And I learned that way. All my chiefs and officers, if they're not there, they don't get a say. If they're there, it's a collective effort. And I'd never thought that I ordered anybody around. Like, I never barked orders. Like, if you watch the movie SEAL Team and the officer barking orders, for one, the officer's not supposed to say anything. And if they tell you what to do, 5 minutes later, they're going to get a punch in the mouth. So, and I always thought the great leadership was give people steak and ask them how they want to eat it, and let them eat it that way, whatever way they want to. It's fine with me. It's your life, you know?
Well, and I think the people you give the steak to, they got to be champions, right? Because if you get, hey, here's the steak, how do you want to eat it? You're expecting them to be proficient. You're expecting them to be experts. And you're expecting them to get the job done. And when you have those individuals on your team, it certainly makes a difference. But I want to go back to what you said, because I heard it before. And when I was at my battalion command school, I got this great advice. It said, you know, your battalion command will be the last time your soldiers recognize your walk in the night. You want to be a brigade commander, great, but you're an administrator. And I think you're right. So you say 07 level, I say 06 level is where they start becoming administrator.
I should say the same thing. Yeah.
From the officer perspective, then how should the officers lead the SEAL teams, right? If they shouldn't be as vocal and they should let the NCOs run. And we had this thing called NCO business in the Army. I don't know if it's the same way in the Navy, where my NCOs would come and say, hey, sir, don't worry about that. That's NCO business. You worry about the planning, and we'll worry about the execution. So tell me, is it similar in the SEAL teams where the role of the officer?
Boy, I don't know. And having, now retired for 10 years, been consulting with different businesses, I don't think you have a universal solution. You got to recognize, are you a frontline leader, or are you an administrator, or are you a project manager? Different businesses run leadership differently. But if you're a frontline leader where the rubber meets the road, the only way to lead them is by example. If I can't do it, I'm not going to go. And if you can't do it, you don't get to go either. The uniqueness of the SEAL team, much like if you're in a battalion, they have earned the right to be there. And unlike civilian businesses, the teams have a unique aspect to them. Is the officers only are there for 2 years. The platoon of guys could have been together for 10. And if you're a new officer from the academy, we always say, I don't have to use a cuss word, but shut the hell up and sit in the back and watch, and don't do anything. Just watch. By the time you're an 03 or a lieutenant, you've done maybe 2 deployments and now you're in charge. It's still sit in the back and let us operate. And in the SEAL teams, you have to use reins. So my form of understanding leadership, great leaderships rein in their people. If you're an encouraging leader, that means your people do not have skills. If you're having to empower and encourage, you guarantee the people around you are not adequate enough. In the SEAL teams, everybody was better than me, and everybody's better than the officer. So you got to rein them in. If you find yourself barking orders of encouragement, the guys are not so good. And that's a whole different form of leadership. And that is true in the business world. If you're having to encourage people, you already know that the person doesn't have the skill set needed to carry out their job. And if you have quality people, you love it when they rein you in. Like I want my leader to go, hey, Tom, we don't really have to walk 18 miles. Let's just fly there. Let's make it easier. And that analogy is true for all leadership. Is if you're encouraging people, you have a technical problem and a tactical problem. If you have alphas, you have to rein them in. And it's a great way to look at even parenting,
Reining in your kids or reining in your spouse?
Well, either way. So either way, if you're having to tell people what to do all the time, other than it being an ego thing, if I have to tell my kids to clean up, they probably don't know how to clean up. So it's a different form of leadership. But if I know what to do, and they're doing way too much, pulling them back into center so that they don't overextend themselves. So it's a unique way to look at, I think, a unique way to look at leadership.
So I like that perspective of, hey, don't overextend yourself. And sometimes in the military, we'd say, hey, take a knee and drink water when we see a leader struggling, and just, hey, we got to get back. But that being said, that's contrary to what you were doing with the adventure racing. And, in the book, the thing that I love the most is that the most transferable skill was you were talking about raising money. And you said, I must have sent out 200 emails. And I got about 205 rejections. And, rejection and failure is just part of business. And, hearing that early on in the book was like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows rejection, failure. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us that come out of the military, we've been fairly successful. And then you go in the civilian world, and I think you said it at one point, I think I heard it in a podcast, where you said, nobody really wants you to be successful. And in the military, everybody wants you to be successful because the problem is we can't fire you. I mean, it takes an act of God sometimes to remove someone and to chapter them. It doesn't happen right away. And being the officer in command, where the problems that got to my desk were usually problems that had to be dealt with swiftly. And it's you can't do that all the time. You can't just say this person's gone from the organization. Where you actually can do that in the civilian world. But I would push back on that and say that there are some people who want you to succeed, and those are your fellow veterans. Generally, the veteran community is supportive. We want to help our own because we've been there. And but yeah, I totally agree with the premise that once you get out of the military, don't think that a bunch of people want you to be successful. Most of them see you as a competitor or someone who doesn't know what they're doing, or some veteran who needs their assistance rather than a veteran who might be their worst competitor.
And another line of thinking along that, since I've been out for 10 years, I would probably rephrase what I wrote in the book, because that was prior to getting out. The business world wants you to succeed. Like your CEO of a company wants people to succeed, not because they get something from it, but they do. They just don't have a training methodology like the Rangers or the teams. They don't know how to train you efficiently to be successful. So I always use the analogy, most companies give salespeople a pistol and a bullet and paradrop them into the Amazon. If you come out, you're a part of the company. But now, dude, you didn't train me to be here. I survived, and now I have a skill set. And that analogy with most salesmen, it would be different than in this. Like if you taught sales in the SEAL teams, there would be learn this method and then do it 10,000 times before we expose you to the enemy. So that training mantra I wish corporations would have. Train heavy, select people through training before you start paying them. It would be I've done it about 5 times in business. It's lethal, but it's costly. It's upfront cost to get a prime player into an organization as opposed to hire. And then you're like, oh my God, they're the wrong people. Hire today, fire in 6 months, as opposed to take 6 months to hire somebody.
Yeah, in the military, training isn't something we do; it's what we do, and it's almost like the Olympic athletes, And look, like my story was I was an infantry guy up through deployed to Bosnia in '99, got out, went in the National Guard, was a logistician, a company commander in Iraq, and but it was like up till September 11th. It was all train, and that's all we would do until all the deployments started happening. But before that, our deployments were to the National Training Center, the Joint Readiness Training Center. Like our deployments were training deployments, and then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now it's real, and so the amount of training we did to be ready to be great. You can't do that in the civilian world. You can't afford to do that in the civilian world, and you just don't have the luxury of time and talent. But going back to one thing I said, I want to clarify. Usually your company wants you to be successful. I'm sorry, but if you go out on your own and you're going to think you're going to go build your own company after you leave the military and you have all that support, it's all gone. And there are organizations out there, and there are veteran organizations. Right now I'm actually in a thing called CEO Circle, put together by Bunker Labs and JP Morgan Chase, that's helping veteran business owners learn from other veteran business owners. So we have a cohort, right? So it's great to have that support, but you have to go look for it. It's not like in the military where you're going to wake up, there's a training schedule, and someone's going to make sure you're in formation, and that they're going to check the block to make sure that you've had your physical and all these things have happened before you get trained. Look, nobody's looking out for you. You either go work for a big company that's going to take care of you, but if you're going to start your own, it's a wild, wild west.
It is the wild, wild west, 100%. You probably, I got out with great skills, and I tried to figure out how they would relate to other human beings. The teams are human being centered. I don't know if the regular military is, having not spent time in the regular military, but the teams are all about human beings and human dynamics, and they probably PhDs in the field, well over most organizations. But whether you get in a cohort group or a mentorship, I had 4 or 5 successful men and women take me under their wing and meet every week, right? And during retirement, and every decision or every choice that I gave them, they're like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm like, damn, I'm going to have to get a job at McDonald's. I have to find something. And, having a great mentor, if you're going to be a veteran, find somebody, go into their office and say, hey, I'm a retired so-and-so, even if you're an officer, I want to work with you for free for 3 months. They will find something because their network is massive. Like, you're not going to build it on your own, and they'll let you in and they'll find something every time. And I've positioned a lot of retired SEALs that, hey, work for Billy for 3 months for free. What do you mean for free? For free. And they'll find a position, whether he has a job or he'll call somebody else and say, hey, I just met somebody that he's going to work out uniquely well with you. And that introduction to the business world, by taking my hat off and putting it in my hand and saying, hey, whatever you want me to do, I don't know anything about business, show me. And had I not done that, I would have been miserable, as opposed to immediately trying to make money.
Well, and I think that's where the misconception that most veterans face is like, well, my skill is close with and destroy the enemy. I don't have business skills, but as you said, it's all people skills and leadership skills, and we do have those skills. So how can veterans go about uncovering those? Obviously, one way is to get that mentor and work for them for free for about 3 months, but how else can they uncover those skills that maybe they aren't recognizing immediately when they come out of service?
I think it would be dependent upon the length of service makes a big difference. So if you get out after the 6 year, like your first tour, you have technical skills that any business could use. Whether you're in IT, whether you did computers, even if you ran a range, you could translate that immediately to another skill set in the civilian sector. If you make it to the 10-year mark, you have some leadership skills, organizational skills that you could directly find something like that. But if you make it to 20 or 30, you have probably forgotten more than you need to forget to run a business. Like an admiral can get out, they could easily run Ford Motor Company, but they don't understand the different dynamics. They don't know who's who in the zoo. So you can't go from admiral to CEO. It's not possible, even though they look the same. And to do that, you have to take your hat off and go, I have been successful, and I will do whatever you want me to do. You want me to take out the trash for a week? I'll take out the trash for a week. You want me to get on the phone and be a salesperson? I'll that up just like I can do everything else. And they'll maneuver you around if you find that. If you're at the 20-year mark and you get out, literally, bro or sisters, take your hat off and ask for help. But if you're 10 or less, just find an equal job. It'd be the best advice that I could say. If you're in IT, go IT. Or go to school, which I don't recommend school, but be a badass and start out.
But yeah, there's that humility where, there's a time to learn and there's a time to earn. And you go from the 20-year career in the military to coming back saying, yeah, I have to start learning again before I can really start earning what I want to earn. And for some people, they never make that adjustment, and their egos stop them. And they think, well, I'm entitled to this because I've been a career military officer. Well, you're not entitled to jack. I mean, that's just the way the world works. Unless you've earned it, you're not going to get it.
I don't know if you've seen this study, the direct translation to sales in MOSs are 11 Charlie, 11 Bravo. If you're either one of those, you'll be a great salesman because you can hammer. You don't care, and you've been put down so many times. I'll hear no 1,000 times. 11 Bravos and Charlies will hear 1,000 times. No. If you're an 18 series, you're probably more entrepreneurial. Like, you can work by yourself without a net, and you don't need your ego stroked. And that has a big correlate effect. If you understand, I can't remember what that document was. What's the correlate between an MOS and a business on the outside? And as I was looking at that, trying to help veterans, I'm like, oh my God, it's 100% right. If you can figure out what the document is.
Well, the 11 Charlie is, hey, just close enough, right? If that mortar round lands close,
Well,
that's
they have
all we
skill.
need.
They've learned something in a hazard environment, and they're moving forward towards the enemy, which is sales.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if you have that mindset, if you are an infantryman, you'll be a great salesperson. But it'll feel the same. It'll feel like you're getting shot at all the time.
That's where I want to get to the next book, The Three Simple Things, which I believe, if my recollection serves me correctly, are offense, go on offense every day, go on defense, and work on strategy. Now,
Every day.
In the Army, you only go on defense long enough to go back on offense.
Yep.
And so we'd be in the patrol base until we didn't need to be in the patrol base, and then we're going after the enemy. So why defense? Well, talk me through, but why defense every day?
Well, categorically, I think there are 5 categories all humans have. The physical category, so your health. Everybody has a body to worry about. Everybody has a brain to worry about. I call that intellectual. The third category that all humans have is they have to have a job or the pursuit of wealth, however you want to put that down on paper. And then we're all in relationships, and we all have some spiritual thing in us. So those 5 categories. So without going into detail, in each one of those categories, you have to do something forward facing, which is offense. Like physically, you have to work out every day. I don't care what anybody tells you. You have to move your body, not marathon every day, but you have to be in some workout program. Then you have to take care of this body somehow. You have to be limber and stretch out, which is the defense side of physicality. And then what you eat is your future. It's a way to look at those 3 simple, and they're simple: work out, stretch, and don't eat literally, if you want to look at it from the infantryman's point of view.
No more MREs.
In business, 3 simple things, and this is what I teach all over the country. You as a leader, or as anybody in the business, you have to be in sales. If the company's not generating sales, you're killing the company. So as a leader, you have to be offensive mindset. You have to consider sales every day. That should be your first meeting that you have is sales. Second, how's the company doing? The projects that we're on, how are all the company itself, everybody that I've hired, how is the company? So I've done sales and I've dealt with ops. And then where are we going? Like the leader asking themselves this question, you did this as a battalion commander. Dude, if everything works out, where is this taking us? Like, what's the strategy of the Iraq offensive? Or if you don't understand the strategy, you're really going to you're going to make poor decisions every day. If you understand strategy, you can go, we're not going to pursue that because that's not in our target deck. And whether you use that war analogy or not, when leaders have those 3 simple things in business, it's a 3X factor. It literally is. And the 600 leaders that I've taught how to make something very complex simple, most people just deal defensive in business. They're defensive. Nobody likes offense. And nobody really knows where it's going to head. They don't have a big plan.
Why not offense? Because of the risk, or?
It's a pain in the ass. It literally is. Nobody wants to be responsible for new clients. So if I'm a boss, I can make $1 million by just helping my business run. And salespeople are in charge of sales. I don't want to touch that sales thing because it's like dealing with infantrymen. It's a grind. The business is, I can empower the business, but all the companies I talk to, very rarely does the leader have a personal responsibility for new client acquisition or sales. They hire it out. It's somebody else's responsibility. When the top man or woman does those 3 simple things, not time draining black holes. If you as the CEO of a company, you have to every day get in front of a new opportunity. What becomes true is it becomes easier to grow a business when the boss is forward facing as opposed to downward facing. And if the boss doesn't have a strategy that they are able to articulate, it's called a vision in business. If that ain't clear, nobody can operate. Like if your vision was not clear as a battalion commander, you had 1,000 people chasing 1,000 targets. If it's clear, they say no to all those opportunities that were not a part of your vision. That's how I look at it. We knew what our stuff was in theater. When we got there in 2009, General Reeder told us you have to kill over 200 Taliban. You guys understand? Oh, my God, I got it. If it has nothing to do with killing Taliban, we don't have to do it. Yes. You don't have to do nation building. We're not here. That's what the Green Beret are doing. We need you to get a body count because it's dangerous. And if it's not a combat mission, I'm not going to let you go on it. And I'm like, I can figure that out. Now I can do the tactics. If you give me the strategy, I'll do tactics. And simplicity. And you saw that in Ranger School. Everything is simple. It's just hard to do. It's time consuming. And I don't want to do it today.
Well, yeah, anything that is simple is difficult when you're hungry and you're tired. If there's any civilians listening that don't know about the suffering involved in just walking and walking and walking, and like I said, in the infantry, that's what we did. Tell us how you get those insights, because you will see God if you walk far enough.
Yes, you will. About 3:00 in the morning. So it originally was an idea. So the book Unbreakable that he showed you earlier, if you were here then, I was a platoon chief in 2009 in Afghanistan, and I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to come home. So my wife Stacy said, "Could you write down?" Not intending to write a book, could you give me things I can teach the kids in case you die? And then I started writing notes over in theater, and the third note that was of merit that I put in the book is because of a big mission that we were on. So we did a 5-day mission in Helmand province, and I didn't sleep for 5 days. Like, we were in a defensive position. We ran out of food, water, and ammo every day. And when I came off that, I'm like, you know what? If I die, I want to at least tell my kids, I want you to be able to do something for 24 hours without stopping, because it makes you a different human being. The intent was just to teach the kids that. And then in retirement, people read the book and go, "Hey, you're going to do a 24-hour?" I'm like, "Shit, I didn't mean to do it." "Oh, okay, I'll do it." So we've done about 47 of them in 10 years. And I do it simply because it allows me to have something to work towards every 6 months that I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it today. I don't want to do it during it. It's a mental and physical thing that I have to go, man, I can't let myself go physically and mentally. But during it, oh my God, what happens during it is transformative. So it's not a ruck march. You walk at about 2.5 miles an hour, which is just a walk. So the idea of the walk is I want you to unravel mentally. I want to unravel mentally. I want you to see for the first time inside of this discussion that we have, what prevents you from being your best self. And we're going to talk about it. And every hour we sit and talk about what prevents you from being a great dad, great leader, great athlete. Why are you this miserable, complaining cow? And that's what I say. And around 3 a.m, you get to this place where nothing matters anymore, but I'm just going to keep going. I promise to be here. I'm going to keep going. And then people take that into their everyday life going, man, I'm complaining again and I'm quitting. And it's not that difficult. If I just keep going on this hardship that I face, things will get better. And I keep doing it because of everybody wants to have that experience. The 3:00 in the morning experience, when the only thing that matters is I don't care how raining it is. I'm going to take one more step and take another step. And everybody there is supporting me taking that step. And most people who haven't gone through Ranger School or the teams have never had in the night support. Like when things are unraveling, that person is still here and they're still supporting me. So a lot of people come because they get to show up as their best self for about 24 hours and be with a group of people they've never met. And at the end of it, you feel like you just made it through Ranger School. Like, man, I love you guys. I don't really love you, but you're like, man, that was awesome. All the guards get let down. And I have one guy that's come and done 18, and he's got a net worth of about 40 million. I keep asking him, why do you even come? I don't even make him pay. He goes, this is the only time I get to see human beings for how awesome they are. Because there's no defense up. And I'm like, wow, that's probably why I keep doing it. That may not have been the answer you're looking for. It's not difficult. It's mentally hard.
Well, but I think that it brings up something important that we don't see as civilians. You know, you trained Navy SEALs, right? Towards the end of your career, you were a trainer. And I trained officers or people who wanted to be officers. I crushed some dreams along the way, but commissioned some officers. And, you know, in those moments, you see amazing people do amazing things. I mean, I think I heard that, you know, you trained Chris Kyle. So, you know, you've trained some amazing people. And then you get in the civilian world and all those people, you know, look, in the military, it was, you know, my soldiers were my heroes. You know, it was, you know, I'm not a hero, but man, I get to be around these amazing people who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, who have made all these sacrifices and are willing to die. Then you come in the civilian world and the dude doesn't want to work an extra hour of overtime and they're going to get paid more. And so you don't see that greatness in people anymore, but you get to see it on these walks. And I'm wondering, now that you're training, you know, executives, how do you bring that out? How do you bring out the greatness that you and I experienced when we served?
Well, I put it on the table. So if you're going to do my training, I offer two types. One is weekend events where disaggregate leaders come together and we do not physically hard stuff because that would eliminate half the field. So we have difficult conversations that all leaders have to have. In the training, you're gonna be the best athlete that you've ever been. If you're not willing to be that athlete, I'm probably not the right person. I don't mean competitive. If you're 50 years old, you're going to start working out every day for a year. If you want to do training with me, that's what you're going to do. And you're going to start leading. So most leaders don't want to let their guard down in front of their business, which is probably not a good place to. Everybody talks about authenticity, but a leader that is really authentic without having a base of people that can support it will be fired. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we're going to have these hard conversations through training. So we're going to go do tough things. We're going to do business designs that are tough that you're going to fall apart on, and you're going to learn from it. And so if you're not willing to fail constantly, I'm probably the wrong trainer to come to. And, I think most people appreciate I can go somewhere and take my hat off or take my guard down and I want to learn why I'm screwed up. And most leaders are screwed up. The problem is the leader in the company anyway. If you solve the leadership, you've solved everything in the company, 100%. Because a great leader creates leaders 100% of the time, as opposed to other ways to look at it. So I thought the greatest impact that I could have is not that I'm a good leader, is that expose current leaders to being their better self. And I didn't know 10 years ago, solve the marriage issue at the leadership level. The relationship at home, when men have a great relationship at home, their company blossoms. And I had no idea. But that's the big deal. And I have no idea why my little niche that I have found is. We're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about your kids too. how to be a better dad, because you're never there. Like, I wasn't a dad when I was a SEAL. I was gone 270 days a year. I was just a travel dad. Go out and have fun. And then all of a sudden, like most leaders find themselves, they've built a great business, and now their kids are 16, and they open their eyes. Oh my gosh, my kids are 16. It's time to be a dad now. You got to go to the football game. You got to listen to them. And that is a skill set that can be taught.
How long is the training programs?
If it was like, if you and I were going to do training, we would meet 4 times this year, and a day of meeting. And then we pick something to work on in those 5 areas: physical, intellectual, wealth, relational, spiritual, and metrics. So I will stick with that until you hit it. Sometimes it's 4 months, sometimes it's a month. And then we do the second day is outside. So I do what I call the 5 fears. It's a climbing endeavor and some other hard physical hardship that I make people go through to overcome fear, because leaders who are afraid are devastated. And then we picked several goals, and we hit those goals. And then we meet the 3rd time for relationship. And then we have relationship metrics. It takes the longest time. And then we meet the 4th time to design a project that the leader and I will do together. And I'll bring my skill set to the table, and they'll bring their skill set to the table, which I love that side of it. That's where the fun part of life is, when you're working with somebody who's all in. And I can bring my limited skill set to the table other than coaching. And I do 10 clients a year. I limit it to 10.
Okay, and the person that I think may have been one of your clients, I won't get into specifics, but when we got to mile 30 of the 50-mile march, and this is where it's night, and we're going to take an hour break, and for me, it was right across from Cap Ashland, where I trained all the officer candidates, right? So I'm like, I'm pumped up, but everybody else is kind of sucking, and this woman got up and said, she quoted you, Thom Shea, and she said something, and we can do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
This is tough, but we can do hard things. And, looking at how you've lived your life, it'd be one thing to say, well, this is a guy that, he did 23 years of military service. He did his hard stuff, but I mean, the adventure racing, and now this company where you're molding civilians into warriors, that's the hard thing. Because, when you show up with a bunch of, who was it, Charlie Beckwith, the founder of Delta Force, who said, I'd rather go up the river with 7 studs than 100 shitheads. I mean, when you have champions on your team, that's great. But to scale an organization, as I found, not everybody is going to be a barrel-chested, steely-eyed killer. You are going to have team members who simply want to work 8 to 5. They want to earn a good living. They want to take care of their family. And they have other interests outside your organization. And while you may eat, live, breathe your organization, not everybody does. And so how do you connect, right, with those civilian leaders? You bring them in and say, okay, I'm going to teach you how to be a warrior, but here's the thing. When you get back, everybody still is going to be the same. Do you find that some of your clients struggle with that?
I don't think I've ever used the word, I'm going to teach you how to be a warrior. So not everybody is designed to do SEAL teams or Rangers. You're not. You can say that you are. Unless you're there, you're not designed to be there, literally. If you're not a Ranger, you're not designed to be a Ranger. If you're not a SEAL, you didn't pursue it, so you didn't attain it. I look at human beings different. Every individual is unique, but they're not operating at 100%. I'm interested in getting that person to operate effectively in all 5 areas, whatever they would look like. Nothing worse than a leader who's not in shape. You still got a body, bro. You still got to do something. So if you teach leaders to lead those 5 areas, like turn on the light and start filling up that room that are the 5 areas, then they look at everybody in their institution as unique. I don't want everybody to be like me. The leaders should not want everybody to be like them. Jane or Bill, whoever the receptionist is, I want you to have a great life. It doesn't have to be mine. But I somewhat demand you be healthy. I demand you be interested. I demand that you're doing this because you value it. Like if you don't want to work here, I'll find something for you to do that you value, because nothing worse than you suffering for $20 a day. So, and then I have to be available as a leader that everybody's on the brink of a damn divorce, that it's possible. I got to let you have a life at home so my business grows. If you are suffering at home and your kids are suffering, you suck at work anyway. How can I help you be better at home? Even though HR doesn't like that conversation, you as a boss got to know. Like you, when you were a battalion commander, in the SEAL teams, the same way, if somebody's suffering at home, you're going to get me killed, bro. So we got to talk about it. And putting all things on the table that matter has been actually easier. It makes, I think, leaders more appreciative of the effort that it takes anybody in the business to come to work. And then when you show people that, you get something called, I can do more, boss. Actually, I want to grow. Or, hey, I don't really want to. I just want to stay here because I want to afford myself time with my family. If that's what you're committed to, I'm also committed to that. I'll help you do that, but you got to help me here at work. And that conversation shifts for a lot of people. And if you're willing to, I call that being an alpha. If you're willing to be an alpha and take care of your pack, I'll teach you it. If you just want to be a shepherd and have a high attrition rate, I'm probably not your man.
Got it. And I want to get into how people can get a hold of you. But before we go there, I want to hit the AR, the after action review, the 3 great examples of leadership you experienced, and then the 3 horrible examples of leadership.
My first platoon chief was probably one of the hardest men I've ever met, and he was honest. So that was the first one. My dad is also one of the greatest leaders that I've ever met, because he also was straightforward and honest. And when I got out, I've met many great men and women leaders, and they're honest. They're straightforward and honest. Poor leadership, I could list thousands. They're self-serving. It's all about them and their ego. High ego, me. And the list is still writing itself. So the differentiation between a good leader and it's not honesty. It's straightforward leadership. That's how I would define great leaders. And then ego-centered, all about me. The list of those people is long and growing as we speak. And I just don't gravitate towards me, even though you're asking me my story. Sorry.
No. That's no, but absolutely. So bottom line, you can give your 3 examples, but all the examples come back to the truthful, honest, straightforward leader who can give it to you straight. Yep. And all the bad examples are the leaders who it's all about me. They're self-centered. It's about them rather than the team or the mission. And we see that, you're right, too frequently. So, Tom, how can veterans or others who wish they were veterans or want to be able to grow their business, grow themselves into something great, become unbreakable? How do they get a hold of Thom Shea? How can they look into your programs? Obviously, you've got Unbreakable and 3 Simple Things, both available on audiobook.
So my internet site is thomshea.com. That's probably the center focus of it. And just because the book got national notoriety, if you just type Thom Shea into a browser, it pops up, which is kind of embarrassing. And brothers and sisters, if you're a veteran and you want a leg up or you want support on any endeavor, reach out and I'll connect very quickly. And if you're a soft guy, take your hat off and reach out and don't go off the edge.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. A lot of great information here. And we could have talked all day about war stories and your amazing accomplishments in combat. But what I wanted to do was open up those lessons to everybody, because not everybody I shouldn't say not everybody got the opportunity, because quite frankly, you made the opportunity happen. You said, hey, I'm going to be a SEAL, and you made it happen. But we all haven't had those great, I shouldn't say great, because I mean, those are very difficult, but those life experiences that you've had. But I think one thing we can all share is that, we're all here to get better, to do better.
Yes.
And you've been on the journey. You've documented the journey. We didn't get into the whole Spartan woman piece of it, but there's something else that having that partner who supports you is key to this. And like I said, you certainly have led by example, not only during your military career, but more importantly, after your military career. And you provide great inspiration to veterans looking to do the next thing, but also the veterans who may have been really scared of self-examining and saying, who am I? What am I doing? And there was one other thing that I heard you say that I really liked was that, for those of our brothers and sisters with PTSD, it gets bad if you don't get engaged. And getting engaged and doing something is really the key to having a happy, successful life.
Yep. Yeah, get back in a fight.
Get back in the
with
fight.
the brotherhood or sisterhood and get back into something that scares the out of you. And you're never going to be a successful man until you have an equal woman. That's the deal. Just come out. That's the deal. And I've hit rock bottom every time. It's because I didn't have a great woman behind me, which means me supporting her equally. And that's the deal.
Thanks so much, Tom. And once again, I really appreciate your perspective for our veterans. And I can't recommend enough Unbreakable. Great lessons here. And then, of course, the 3 Simple Things, the other book. Check them out. Thanks so much, Tom, and thanks again for your service and how you continue to serve our veterans.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
Thank you for joining us today on Veteran Led, where we pursue our mission of promoting veteran leadership in business, strengthening the veteran community, and getting veterans all of the benefits that they earn. If you know a leader who should be on the Veteran Led podcast, report to our online community by searching @Veteran Led on your favorite social channels and posting in the comments. We want to hear how your military challenges prepared you to lead your industry or community, and we will let the world know. And of course, hit subscribe and join me next time on Veteran Led.